Okay. What's up? Hello. Thank you so much for answering all the questions earlier. From what I've learned, that a lot of things you answered earlier says that it all goes back to your childhood trauma or how you're raised as a kid, as a minor. How important it is to have a healthy lifestyle growing up with your parents. What is their job role? So I think a lot of parents, send you to great universities and they tell you, you can do whatever you want in your life. So one extreme, and then the other extreme is where they tell you that um, this is what you're going to do. Everything I tell you, this is how it should be. And because I'm your dad or I'm your mom, you have to listen to me. So there's no right or wrong. It's just I'm your parents, and whatever we tell you, you must do it. How important it is to listen to your parents? How important it is to have a healthy parent, and what is their job role? There are a lot of questions to go for it and answer all of them together.
Yeah, I think this parenting, I feel, is one of the most challenging sort of jobs in the world. Even more challenging than becoming the president of the United States. Because if you're in the White House after 4 years or maximum 8 years, you leave that and you go home and lead a private life. But once a woman is pregnant, once a man knows that he's become the father, then that responsibility is long term, it's lifelong. You help children at different stages with different challenges. To make it simpler, I divide parents into two groups. Traditional parents, these are the parents, they mean well, but they have middle class values. They want their children to go to school, get education, become doctors, lawyers, engineers, because their focus is more on financial stability, social stability. So they just want the children to be successful. Now the problem is that some children are not like that. They are not traditional children. They don't want to follow the traditional models. So then the parents have the challenge. The child says, I don't want to go to the university, I don't want to go to the college. I want to become an artist. I want to become a musician, a poet, a philosopher, a dancer, a filmmaker. So it does not fit into the parents. So that's where the conflict starts. That's where the tension becomes. And then I've seen many teenagers, they run away from home. Many daughters, they just disappeared from home because they were not following those traditional sort of strict values that the parents were saying. I give the analogy of a child to a seed. Each seed, whether it's a mango, whether it's an orange, whether it's a date, each seed has a certain potential. The farmer knows the secret of life. The farmer knows, or the gardener knows, that if you give the seed the fertile soil, the sunshine, the water, fresh air, then the seed grows to become a plant, becomes a tree, and then give the fruits, and then we all benefit. So each child, I feel, by nature, by the genes, has a certain gift. I call it a gift. And good parents are not trying to mold in their own thinking. He wanted to be a teacher, and he was not successful. He wants his son to be a teacher. He could not become a doctor. He wants his son to be a doctor. On the other hand, I think a good parent, a healthy mother, father, they try to identify the child's talent, the child's potential, what he will be best in. And so some children have the potential to become scientists, some artists, some musicians, some sports people, some politicians, some philosophers. So that is my sense, that although they mean well, the traditional parents also mean well. These parents who are very strict and very dominating, they mean well, but their approach, I don't think is very healthy. It's very stunting. It creates tension. So I hope that parents would know that children have their own personality, they have their own identity, they have their own sort of a dream, and just help them. That's why Khalil Gibran wrote a poem about children, that the parents should know that these children are the inhabitants of future. We need to learn from our children, because they know. So like I learned from my niece. She knows more about technology and media and all that. She's making these TikTok videos that I have no idea how to do it. So I think children have to learn from parents, and parents have to learn from children, and we need to have what I call as a rational authority. When the parents have an irrational authority, that is where the tension becomes. So I feel that healthy parents, good parents, identify the talent, the gifts of nature in the children, and support them, nurture them to become the best what they can become.
All right, thank you. So basically, what you're saying that if the parent would see any kind of talent, they should support their children regardless of whatever they want to do in life. That one thing is done. I've seen some kids, and their parents are very supportive in what they want to do. But then there's other side comes, which where you will see that there are kids they're adults who are still childlike. They have a lot of trauma from their childhood, even though they are being supported. So in simple words, how can a parent raise a healthy child?
You see, the children do not necessarily follow the orders or the direction. They watch the parents. So parents are teaching them as role models. So if the parent is smoking a cigarette himself and tells the child that smoking is not good for you, or the father is abusing or insulting the mother and tells his son, go and respect your girlfriend, those are empty words. It's not the words, it is the action. Love is an action, love is a word. You show it to the wife, to the spouse, to the children, to your brother and sister. So I feel children learn from the teachers, the principals, and the parents how they behave. They are very observing. They are very, let me give you an example. Children are very creative. One research showed that grade 1 children had 85% creativity, and by the time they reached grade 10, they only had 15%. So many schools, many colleges, many universities, they don't develop the personality. They are just making a cog in a wheel. They teach you a skill so that you become a secretary, you become a factory worker, you become whatever. Let me give you an example. A mother told me that her daughter, she was like a 10-year-old. She showed her the drawing. The drawing was, the child drew a moon on one side and the sun on the other side and showed it to the mother. The mother said, this is wrong. Either you have the moon at night time or the sun in the daytime. You can't have both. So the child was quiet. After about 3 weeks, one morning when they were going to school, the child said to the mother, the same child, Mom, what is that? And she said, sun. And what is that? That's the moon. There are days where you see the sun and the moon both at the same time.
Yeah,
it's very rare.
Really?
But the mothers are so, so we are sometimes so cliche that we say, okay, so the child is questioning, the child is challenging. And I think the mature parents, the healthy parents, the wise parents, they listen to the question, they don't get frustrated, they try to answer the child. And if they don't know, sometimes I tell my patients, I don't know the answer, we'll find it, we will ask somebody, go to the book, textbook, Google, whatever. So I think parents need to know their limitation and encourage children to question. That's how they grow. That's how you would be surprised that many parents are jealous of their own children. I've seen mothers jealous of their daughters. I've seen fathers jealous of their sons because they couldn't achieve. And the father knows that my son is going to be better than me. He's becoming a better artist, better actor, better philosopher. And then the father gets jealous and they wants to keep controlling. And that is not. So I think parents need to resolve their own conflicts, their own issues, if they want to become good parents.
So yeah, this is so hard because a lot of people go through so much in life, and it's even for parents, it's very difficult. As you mentioned earlier, it's one of the hardest jobs, and their trauma was from their parents, so they passed to generations.
Because there's no textbook, you see.
Yeah.
I say jokingly, there are two things in the world you can become without any training. You need even to be a barber. I went to the barber. Yes, some training. If you want to be a driver, somebody is a training. But anyone become a parent, and anyone can become a politician. No training. You don't need a training. You can say, I want to have the elections. So that's why many people, many young men and women, I feel, some people have disagreement with me. I feel that couples, before they get married, before their children, they should have premarital, pre-child training. They should have such a training how to become good parents. This is a skill that we need to learn. So if I was going to introduce, that I will have seminars, I will have workshops for couples who are dating. They should go and see before they get married, before they decide to have children, to see where they're at, what they need to learn, so that the child does not become a casualty. There are many children, they become casualties because...
Yeah, I know, I understand. So now, there's a family, give you an example. they're broken and they're unhealthy. They raise unhealthy and broken kids. Now those kids are married to unhealthy and broken families. So they create this unhealthy, broken family of generations. How do you stop that? Where you're like, okay, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. Your parents are abusive, they're unhealthy, also very manipulative. These people can be very manipulative because they can bring, for example, religion. If not religion, they could bring moral police education, where they'll be like, you know, I'm your dad, so I know the best for you. You can't question my decision, and so would your mother say. So how do you break this chain where you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna listen to my parents, because it's very difficult, right? The best relationship in the world, I think, could be your parents, right? Until you find your soulmate. Until you don't find your soulmate, it is your parents you rely on. So how do you break that cycle and you can be like, I'm going away from this?
You see, this interview that you're doing, we are having this discussion. So I think one is for writers, politicians, social activists to have an education, that open discussion. That is one area. The second is when you realize that your family, you know, is toxic, your family is very controlling. I think it's okay to leave the family. There's nothing wrong with this. The traditional people say, oh, stick to your parents, stick to your aunts and uncles, stick to your grandparents. I don't believe in that. If the family is healthy, then one should stick with them, love them, care for them. But if you're not respected, you're not encouraged, then we should create our home. So that's why I have a philosophy of creating a family of the heart. So in Canada, in Toronto, we've created a family of the heart, where you choose so somebody is like your father, somebody is like your uncle, somebody is like your sister, somebody is like your brother, somebody is like your nephew. So I think creating a family of the heart that nurtures you, that cherishes you, that gives you, the support that you need. So I think there's a family of blood family. So I suggest that people who have difficulties with their blood families should distance themselves, minimize their contact, and create a family of the heart. And I've seen many people, many young people, when they created a family of the heart, their friends, their colleagues, they were far happier, more peaceful, and they were more nurtured by the family of the heart than their blood family.
Thank you. So were you saying that just peace out, just put a strong boundary? Just last question. I've also seen a lot of kids living with unhealthy parents, and you'll see that they have a very miserable life, but they would never blame their parents. They would be like, it's the other people, it was my teacher, or it was my partner, or it was my friend who hurt me, that's why I'm sad. My parents are really good, they want the best out of me. How would you know that it's your parents who are toxic because you refuse to listen to everyone else? To me, I personally think, when I observe, do you think when you are in an abusive relationship, do you think the first thing is that it brings the worst out of you? Because we all have darkness in us, so it brings the aggressiveness out of you. You're always angry, you're always unhappy, and you're always questioning everything. And you will see changes in your body too. You can start to lose weight, or you can start to gain weight. So what are the symptoms? How would you know that this is unhealthy for me and it's time for me to walk away?
You see, the dynamics, the family dynamics changes from parent-child relationship. When the child is 5-year-old, and the mother and father are 25-year-old parent. When they become teenagers, then it's a process of adolescence. You start to challenge. So goal is to have adult-to-adult relationship with your parents. Now, unfortunately, the parents who are insecure, the parents who are not that wise, they try to maintain that parental role. So their children are even 35-year-old. They want to keep them as children. I'll give you an example. When I was in Edwards College, Peshawar, our principal, Phil Edmonds, he was Australian actually. He had come from Australia to Pakistan. Phil Edmonds, very wonderful guy. So he came to the class one day and he was very happy. He said, my son had come back from England and he did his PhD and he's now, sort of well-educated, graduated. Everybody sort of congratulated him. And then one student asked him, I said, sir, now are you going to find a bride for him? In Pakistan, he's graduated now, And Phil Edmonds said, no, I'm not going to find a bride. He will find his own life partner. And if this was an interesting comment, and if he is not able to find a life partner, that means he's not ready to have a life partner. He's not ready to get married. So I remember that I was 17. I remember that, So he was open to the idea that if I help them raise my children to grow up to be an adult, they should find their job, find their profession, find their life partner. So those parents who are trying to tell the children, adult children, what job they should do, what education they should do, who should they marry, where they should live, what kind of a car. So they are treating them like children. So they want to maintain parent-child relationship. So my suggestion to those children is they have to grow up and become, so that child that you're saying, even if she's biologically, she might be 25. But if she's saying, oh, my parents are always right, you cannot turn me against my parents, she's actually a child. She might be 25, but she's talking like a 5-year-old. She has not developed critical thinking. She cannot see things objectively. She cannot see these parents are human beings too. So we need to see they're our parents, but they're also human beings. They have their own problems. We can just idolize them, we respect them, but at the same time see their dark side. So I think the final goal is that the children become adults and the parents treat them like adults. So it has to adult relationship in which we can have a dialogue, we can have a discussion, we can have a disagreement. I had that with my father, We used to disagree. He was a very religious, spiritual person. I was a very secular person. And we had these discussions. We disagreed, but he was never insulted. He never told me, shut up and this and this and this. We could passionately agree to disagree. And that to me is a healthy adult-to-adult relationship. This is what we are striving. And if we are not finding that with our biological parents, then I think we should just step away, walk away, and find other people in our life that we can have that kind of a friendship. So I think I support, like I have a friendship with your aunt. I have people here in Toronto. We adults, we writers, intellectuals, we meet, we socialize, we discuss, we have seminars, we have workshops, and an open, honest kind of discussion. So that's where I feel the goal of parent-child is to have an adult-to-adult relationship.
Adult-to-adult relationship. Oh, that's said perfectly. Thank you so much. We'll finish it off here.
All the best.
Thank you very much.